The economic crisis in Venezuela has sent the country spiraling into a humanitarian disaster, as access to food and medicine and other needed supplies has become more and more difficult. But the political landscape is also in turmoil, with a recent controversial election to establish a constituent assembly that has the power to change the constitution condemned by some outside observers as the most significant step by President Nicolas Maduro to turn the country into an autocratic state. The origins of the new assembly can be traced to 2015, when the opposition won 2/3 of the seats in the National Assembly, the country's parliament. Amid such political gridlock, critics say Maduro began chipping away at the authority of the National Assembly, using the Supreme Court, stacked with Maduro loyalists, to take away its powers. Earlier this year, the government, through the top court, tried to take away all powers of the National Assembly. What followed were 4 months of sometimes violent protests that have left more than 100 people dead. The government has said this new assembly will help restore order. It claimed that 8 million people, a little over 40% of registered voters, turned out for this election. But the opposition boycotted the vote and observers have questioned the official results. While questions swirl around the legitimacy of the election, critics argue this new governing body will usurp or replace the authority of the opposition-controlled National Assembly. They fear it will allow the government to rewrite the constitution and give Maduro more power. The president has admitted he will use this new assembly to grant the government power to jail key opposition leaders, remove the nation's outspoken chief prosecutor, Luisa Ortega, which he did on Saturday, and strip opposition legislators of their constitutional immunity. He has jailed 2 opposition leaders, already under house arrest, who had urged Venezuelans to boycott the Constituent Assembly vote. These actions have drawn international scorn. Many countries, including Canada, have denounced the government for taking authoritarian measures. The U.S. said it won't recognize the new assembly and has imposed sanctions, labeling the Maduro regime a dictatorship. When Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez, began his first term as president in 1999, he vowed to fight political corruption and launched sweeping economic and social reforms that he dubbed the Bolivar Revolution after famed Latin American independence leader Simon Bolivar. Chavez funneled some of the country's oil wealth to the poor, providing housing, free health care and better education. The Maduro government claims that to continue that legacy, it needs to remain in power. Those who oppose that view are labeled elitist lackeys of the U.S., who will undermine the revolution. Maduro has also claimed that his new Constituent Assembly will help bring peace to the region. The Constituent Assembly, they say, that will be a means to deepen the revolution and advance the Constitution further along those lines, but also provide a space and a means to bring peace to the country that has been divided, said Jennifer McCoy, a political science professor who specializes in Latin American politics at Georgia State University in Atlanta. The Maduro government says Venezuela has been a victim of economic sabotage and that an economic war is being waged against it by the private sector linked to the U.S.